All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this week's Team Kentucky Update. We're coming to you on a Friday this week because I got to take the kids on a historic tour to see so many amazing parts of our country. So thanks for giving me an extra day or so. Today, we're going to start out talking about an amazing couple weeks of economic development. Then we're going to sign into law some pieces of legislation, have a full house today of some advocates whose good work has resulted in some good legislation. Then we'll have some updates on the weather that has just recently come through, along with our regular updates on flooding, and then a few other pieces of information, including how we are making broadband more affordable in Kentucky using a federal program than just about any other state. So today I want to start by highlighting several great economic development announcements from these past 2 weeks. We continue to build on our record-breaking economic growth statewide with more than 1.7 billion new private sector dollars that have already been committed to be invested just since the beginning of the year. Across more than 30 projects, companies are creating well over 2,000 new jobs just in the first 3 months of 2023 alone. We're gaining steam in 2023 as well. The pace is picking up. In March, we announced over $1 billion of new investments and more than 1,000 new jobs. With that, since I became governor, we've announced 846 private sector announcements, totaling over $25.8 billion in new investments and nearly 45,000 full-time new high-paying jobs. So today I want to kick off this week's news by highlighting 3 site and building development projects as the first projects approved through the Kentucky Product Development Initiative. The KPDI initiative was something we went to the legislature with this last time. It was based on our experience in the Glendale area, where we ended up landing the largest economic development investment in our history with the $6 billion Blue Oval investment. And we recognized that didn't happen overnight. The state had helped acquire the land and worked with the local officials to create an exit on the interstate to make sure we had rail. So many different investments to have that perfect site. Well, this program, which was passed, I think unanimously through the General Assembly, recognized that every area, every county, every region deserves their Glendale as well. And what it does is it provides funds to where counties can apply to either create new economic development sites, to build spec buildings, to run infrastructure that needs to be there, to work to build their Glendale for that community changing announcement that we want to help bring in the future. It was established in 2022, and it builds on our growing effort to develop land and buildings in local communities to support new, good-paying jobs and economic growth. Last week, KEDFA approved the first 3 projects, which I'm going to mention briefly. This includes a regional project with collaboration between 5 counties to make it possible. That's the type of cooperation we're seeing out there, the Team Kentucky spirit that says as long as an employer comes to our region, we know that the people of multiple counties will ultimately benefit. So the Northeast Kentucky Regional Industry Authority Incorporated and Greenup County Fiscal Court submitted a regional project in partnership with Boyd, Carter, Elliott, and Lawrence counties for the acquisition of over 240 acres in the East Park Industrial Park. This project will see $1.5 million in land acquisition. $750,000 of that comes from the PDI program. Second, the Laurel County Fiscal Court, in partnership with the London Laurel County Economic Development Authority, will build a 105,000 square foot spec building to attract new business in the London community. This is a $3.8 million project. The PDI program is putting in $1.5 million. And a project in Madison County will consist of nearly 47 acres owned by the Richmond Industrial Development Corporation and located in the Richmond Industrial Park South 3 on Bill Robertson Way. The intended scope of that project is to develop and implement a land grading plan to better prepare the topography for industrial site development. The site will see $1 million in upgrades, with the PDI program putting in about about 500,000. These are just the first three of at least 40 awards that we believe will be made, likely in just this first round. We're right now announcing new investments every day. And what that means is we're going to need new sites to make sure that we can continue our red hot economy. Having been ranked number 2 in per capita economic development in 2022, it's important that we do the work to continue this incredible streak. Remember, we can stretch our 2 best years of economic development into 3 or 4 or 5. That turns those 5 years of good work into a potential 50 years of great prosperity. Now on to some incredible company announcements. Last week, Christian County had a really good week. They saw 2 tremendous investments with job creations of over 720 new full-time jobs coming to Christian County and nearly $730 million in new investment just last week. Investing $504 million and creating 562 of those jobs is Microvast, a globally recognized industry leader in lithium-ion battery innovation and technology. What they're going to do here is the first of its kind in the United States. It is a mass production facility for its cutting-edge polyaramid separator technology. This will be the only company, at least in the United States, if not the world, using this type of technology. It helps integrate into the EV battery designs, including Microvast cells and those of third-party battery manufacturers. Construction is expected to begin this year and to be completed by March of 2025. Microvast's investment just continues our role as the EV leader in this country, whether it's the 2 initial manufacturing facilities with Ford and SK On, as well as our producer Envision in Bowling Green, whether it is Ascend Elements also in Hopkinsville, $1 billion investment. We are now over $11 billion in new investments in the EV area, really in less than 24 months, and 9,700 new full-time jobs. I believe that this is just the tip of the iceberg. Excited that Microvast wants to be a part of what we've got going on here in the Commonwealth. Toyota Bushuku American Incorporated is one of the world's premium suppliers of interior systems and filter manufacturers. They're the second company that announced in Christian County. The company announced plans with a $225 million investment, creating 157 full-time jobs. This new facility will be the first TBA location considered as a smart plant. The facility will employ innovative, cutting-edge technologies such as advanced robotics, planning, and automation to streamline processes, reduce waste, and enhance productivity to maximize efficiency and operations. By implementing these technologies, the company will create a more efficient and environmentally responsible operation that will serve as a model to others. The new facility will be the company's 5th location in the Commonwealth. They believe in us so much they have 5 separate locations. And it's expected to begin in June of this year and be completed in August of 2024. TBA has a long-standing history in Kentucky, starting 35 years ago and continuing when it moved its corporate headquarters to Erlanger 15 years ago. I want to thank the TBA for its continued investment and belief in Kentucky. Next is Intervenue. Kentucky's manufacturing and clean energy sector saw even more growth recently with the announcement of Intervenue locating in our state. So this company is also a battery manufacturer, but not for automobiles. This company builds metal hydrogen batteries for stationary energy storage applications, including utility scale, commercial, and residential use. So we become the leader in building batteries for automobiles, but now we've diversified the types of batteries we're going to build. These are the types of batteries for storage, whether it's in the future helping on the grid to store production when it's cheap to create energy, and then supplying the grid, and or for residential use where you could potentially do the same. This is a really exciting development. This is part of the battery future that we've got to get right, and it's really exciting that it's happening here in Kentucky. So this company is establishing a new manufacturing facility in Shelby County, creating 450 full-time jobs with a $264 million phase 1 investment. For the initial phase, Intervenue is going to construct a 1 million square foot manufacturing facility on 73 acres in Shelbyville. This location will be the company's primary plant for its energy storage vessels, and all aspects of the design and testing, that's R&D, is going to occur in our Kentucky facility. Across its domestic manufacturing sites, this company expects to invest more than $1 billion. We hope to get as much of that $1 billion here in Kentucky. They expect to have more than 20 gigawatt hours of annual capacity. If you just add Ford and Envision, certainly in the automobile sector, we have more gigawatt hours of production announced in Kentucky than any other state. Add this to it, again, it's just going to attract more and more of that battery supply chain, putting us in the perfect position for this industry of the future. This is an incredible project for Shelby County, an incredible project for Kentucky. It's just going to put more eyes in the global EV market right here on Kentucky. I also want to highlight an exciting new investment in Kentucky's signature bourbon and spirits industry. Campari Group, a major player in the global spirits industry with a portfolio of over 50 premium brands, announced last week they're expanding operations in Anderson County with a $161 million investment to construct a second distillery on the company's Wild Turkey campus. The facility will create 31 full-time, well-paying jobs. You add this to an announcement we made last year in Anderson County, more new jobs in just a 2-year period than I think we've seen in the last 20 to 30. This company is constructing a brand new distillery that'll be designed to produce 5 million additional proof gallons of Wild Turkey bourbon annually, increasing the company's production capacity to 14 million proof gallons. This new distillery will provide an enhanced visitor experience, which means more tourists coming and spending their dollars in our community. And it includes an expansion to the waste treatment dry house process that will double the current dry house and waste treatment output. With this investment, the company will also upgrade the current barrel filling operation to handle the increased volumes and enable Wild Turkey to run additional mash bills simultaneously out of the distillery operation. The project is going to break ground by October and be completed by the end of July of 2025. This builds on recent bourbon and spirits growth across the industry. In fact, more growth in these last 3 years than we saw in previous decades. Since the start of my administration, 80 new location or expansion projects for the bourbon industry, totaling over $3 billion of new investments and creating more than 1,450 new jobs. Last year was the best year for bourbon investment by far. Also, best year for tourists on the Bourbon Trail. But we saw $2.1 billion of new investment in bourbon last year. That was $600 million more than the second best year. So I want to thank this long-time producer here in Kentucky for continuing to believe in us. And I'll wrap up this week's economic development news with LandCal Logistics, a Kentucky-founded third-party logistics company that provides end-to-end supply chain solutions. The company has announced a $600,000 expansion to their Georgetown headquarters, creating 10 new additional full-time jobs for Kentuckians. The expansion is going to double the size of their operation, now to 5,400 square feet. LandCal moved into this space in October of 2022 and will open a Unishippers franchise to offer small parcel logistics solution out of the Scott County facility. I want to thank LandCal Logistics for continuing to partner with the Georgetown community and Team Kentucky. Okay, now we got a big room of folks that are really excited about a number of bills that we are going to sign into law and one that we will do a ceremonial signing on. So first, I'll sign House Bill 29. That's sponsored by Representative Derek Lewis. This bill removes the residency requirement for veterans to be buried in state cemeteries. This will allow more of our U.S. veterans to be honored by burial in a veteran cemetery after their death. Honoring our veterans is nothing short of a sacred duty. The freedom of this country is protected by our active military, and our veterans deserve the very best for their service. Just last week, we were reminded that whether you are in a war zone or whether you are doing drills at home, our servicemen and women make sacrifices, including sometimes the ultimate sacrifice to preserve our freedom and to be prepared in our times of need. I was at Fort Campbell at near the end of last week. It was a really tough day, but I wanted Fort Campbell, their leadership, and the families of those lost to know that all of us here in Kentucky are with them, stand behind them, mourn them, and are going to wrap our arms around every single one of those families the way we do it here in the Commonwealth and make sure they never have to walk alone. And for as long as they'll let us, we hope we can carry just some of their grief. And let me say, we continue to fully support Fort Campbell and their leadership. We believe that they have the very best practices. In fact, I got on a Black Hawk right after that press conference. And while it was for a tough reason to view the crash sites, I also wanted to do it to show my full confidence in that leadership and in our 101st Airborne. So we honor especially with burials in veteran cemeteries, those that have fought for us, those that have sacrificed for us. And we pray for those who continue to serve. From building our new Veterans Center in Bowling Green to all 4 of our current veteran centers that are 5-star rated, the highest rating that is offered, we believe we take care of our veterans better than any other state. So today, I'm proud to sign House Bill 29. Commissioner Allen and anybody else involved in the passage of this, if you'd like to join us, we will sign it into law. You're very welcome. Come on up, gentlemen. Winnie is joining us today. Okay, so this is House Bill 29. Cool, sir. This is the actual bill. And let's see, it is the 7th. We'll sign it into law. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
So,
Appreciate it, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
absolutely. Appreciate you, sir. Absolutely. Thank you. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Stay up here, man. We're going to do this a couple times, okay? Next up is another bill honoring our service members. Senate Bill 40, sponsored by Senator Philip Wheeler, designates the 4th Thursday in March of each year as the Tuskegee Airmen Commemoration Day. The Tuskegee Airmen were a group of African-American military pilots and airmen who fought in World War II. Too often, their dedication and sacrifice to our country goes unrecognized, but no more. We are committed to honoring and remembering these brave Americans every single year. Last month, I was proud to take part in the official dedication of the mural and historical marker for Tuskegee Airman First Lieutenant Frank Douglas Walker. And today, I'm proud as we take another step forward in our mission to honor the Tuskegee Airmen. It's important to remember that these heroes answered the call to defend our country, even when our country wasn't always defending, honoring, or treating them the way that every human being deserves to be treated. You know, it's impossible for me to fully imagine the hurt and the lasting scars that is the legacy of slavery, of Jim Crow, of segregation, of discrimination, of racism. But we can listen, and we can try to learn, and then to act, and recognizing especially brave heroes like these who protected our country when our country didn't always protect them is one step we can make in that learning process. As governor, and most importantly as the dad of 2 young kids, creating this better world, a world that the Tuskegee Airmen provide an incredible example of what we can work towards is important, and the lasting change that can be made is special. So on the 4th Thursday in March of each year, we're going to specifically remember the Tuskegee Airmen. We're going to recommit ourselves to the selfless patriotism that they showed. And we're going to work to be worthy of everything they did for us. So joining us today is Deanna Frazier Gordon and several other representatives from the Madison County Historical Society. Representative Frazier Gordon, if you'd like to say a few words, and we'd invite everybody who wants to be a part of the signing up, which we'll do after hearing from the representative.
Thank you, Governor.
You're welcome.
It's a pleasure to celebrate the legacy of the Tuskegee Airmen. Their desire to serve in spite of racism and inequity really shows their true character and their true love of their fellow man and their country. This was especially meaningful to me because so many were native Kentuckians and 7 call Madison County home. So I would like to thank my colleagues in the House and the Senate for supporting this measure and thank the governor for signing it into law.
Absolutely. All right, let's do it. Come on up, everybody. Want to sit? All right. I am great. This is ceremonial sign because it's already law. We get to celebrate a very good law.
That's right.
All right, let's look up. And here we go. Congratulations. You're very welcome. Congratulations. Good to see you. Yes. She wanted to make sure she said hi. If you all want this to be able to display. Great. All right, a couple more, Winnie. All right, next we have House Bill 9, sponsored by Representative Richard Heath. This bill helps provide economic relief to local communities by establishing a program to provide state matching funds when local communities apply for federal grants. Right now, we have more grants that are out there to apply for than ever before, I think, in our history. Major infrastructure grants like the Brent Spence Bridge grant, we received the largest infrastructure grant in U.S. history. Grants for clean drinking water, grants for economic development, grants to replace lead pipes with things that are safer, grants to bring internet and digital literacy to communities, game-changing potential investments that are out there. And what this bill recognizes is we ought to be helping each and every community take advantage of this moment to ensure that we can bring as many of these dollars to Kentucky to make historic gains. During a time when we're experiencing so much economic prosperity, it's our responsibility to ensure that it reaches every single community. And securing more of these federal dollars and grants can help our communities ultimately thrive and make sure that we're bringing a Glendale to every single community. During my administration, we provided billions of dollars to local communities to support cleaner drinking water, better internet, education, public safety, transportation, and more. This new government resource accelerating needed transformation program, which we have an acronym for everything, will be the grant program, will help us get more funding to our local communities. This is, I mean, we were just number 2 in the entire country in per capita economic development. You realize we were number 3 in the country in micropolitan economic development, meaning creation of rural jobs. This is just going to continue that at a time when business is coming to people instead of expecting just people to come to business. Think about what we can do. When we announced the biggest job creation announcement in Breckinridge County, 80-something jobs, what it meant to that community cannot be overlooked. And it's grants like this, grants that went to their ACT that were able to make that happen. So I'd invite up Representative Heath as well as Commissioner Keene, who's going to help implement this, to say a few words, and then everybody who worked on getting the bill passed.
Thank you, Governor.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. So it's good to be here today. Excited about having the governor sign House Bill 9 into law. I want to thank my colleagues in the House and the Senate for helping move this forward. As you know, this is a team effort. Nobody does this all by themselves. So this is a once in a lifetime opportunity to leverage federal funds to help build local economies in eastern and western Kentucky. So I'm incredibly pleased here today that the bill is moving forward and receiving its due time in the spotlight. House Bill 9, as the governor said, establishes the government resources accelerating needed transformation, the grant program. It will provide support and grant funding for communities that are impacted by the loss of coal-related jobs. So in addition to the bill, this also puts in $2 million in funding for the next fiscal year and directs the Department of Local Government to partner with Kentucky Council on Development Districts to make all this happen. So we'll have the funding for this in the 2024 budget year. I'll give you one example. Our neighbors to the north, Indiana, took $500 million in state funding and leveraged almost $10 billion in federal funding to bring about transformation in their communities. So we're a little late to the game. I wish we could have done this a couple of years ago, but we're doing it now. And we know that the communities that were affected by the reduction in coal-fired plants and coal mining will benefit from these, and we're excited to see what comes about.
Great. Commissioner?
Thank you, Governor. The words you use, Governor, is spot on. This is a tremendous game changer for Kentucky. Too many times we have the most neediest of counties that are impacted by either floods or tornadoes or what have you. Their tax revenues are down. They qualify for $1 million grant, but they can't come up with a 20% match. So we've had to turn our back on them. Well, this governor changes the game for those folks. So now there'll be an application process done through the Department of Local Government, and we'll see that those funds get out there, and we change that into a lot of economic development.
Great. We invite everybody up who wants to be a part of the signing. And all I'd add is as co-chair and the governor's co-chair of Appalachian Regional Commission, I think you're going to see a couple programs announced in the near future that can work very well with this to ensure that local communities have grant writers and can fully take advantage of this opportunity. You're good. You can say hi. All right. All right. You ready? All right, let's look up. And let's make it long. Congratulations. Thank you. All right. Appreciate all you guys. Thank you, Governor Gill. There's for you all. All right. All right. Can we just pass them out? You got it? There you go. All right. Thank you all very much. Congratulations. Thank you. Thanks for letting Winnie be part.
Yes, we're all here.
Thank you. Now she's hoping for something else.
That's right.
You're doing a good job. All right. Next up is House Bill 21. House Bill 21 is sponsored by Representative Randy Bridges. The bill makes it easier for Kentuckians without a permanent address to get a driver's license. This important legislation will allow people living in or working with homeless shelters, healthcare facilities, or social service agencies acquire an ID. This legislation is another step to help Kentuckians get back on their feet. And with us coming into Easter, with it being Good Friday, what an incredible bill designed to help the lost, the lonely, and the left behind. Recognizing that there are impediments, that if you want to qualify for Medicaid, oftentimes you are going to need that type of ID. This is a good piece of legislation. It recognizes, I think, that every individual is a child of God and is a good step towards helping everyone have an opportunity at prosperity regardless of what they've been through. So it gives me a lot of pride to sign House Bill 21, knowing it's going to help a lot of people. Today we have Adrian Bush, Director of the Homeless and Housing Coalition of Kentucky, George Eklund, Director and Advocacy for the Louisville Coalition of the Homeless. If you two would like to join us and say a few words, we'll then do the signing with everybody who wants to be a part. Come on up.
Governor, since you said my name first, I guess I get to go first.
As long as I pronounced it right.
You did. You did. It gives me great joy to be here this morning. We began working on the ID issue for people experiencing homelessness in Kentucky in 2011. There was some initial legislation passed, and then as you know, things have changed a little bit over the last 12 years. We needed to make some needed updates. And this, we really appreciate the cooperation, the championship from the General Assembly, as well as the administration. And we're really grateful to see these changes made and get people back on their feet. With that, I'll turn it over to George.
Yeah, I'm very excited that we're here today. We started this conversation 3 years ago, and for others, it was much longer that we've been having this. So for me, I believe that a house is a foundation that all of our lives are built upon. It's where we go home after a bad day. It's where we get ready for that job interview. It's where we get our kids ready to go to school. And for too many Kentuckians right now, they don't have that essential need. People that are experiencing homelessness face countless barriers to get into housing, to maintain housing, and to really take that step forward. So House Bill 21 is a great tool that we're giving to our service providers to get people into housing. It's really opening the door for people to be in charge of their own destiny and move towards a better future off the streets. So, I have to say thank you to our sponsor, Representative Bridges. I have to say thank you to Senator Higdon and also Senator Buford, who helped pass that bill years ago. So, and thank you to the governor's office for helping us out with this.
Absolutely. Anybody who wants to join us, come on up. Thank you. You're doing my best. You're hanging in here pretty well. All right. Let's look forward. And let's sign this in the wall. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Who wants the actual?
George.
George.
Thank you.
Everybody else.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good to see you. Nice to see you too. Thank you. There you go. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for what you do. Absolutely. All right. Thank you so much. You're very welcome. Post a block. Finally, we have House Bill 125, sponsored by Representative Rebecca Raymer. This legislation will require the Department for Aging and Independent Living to distribute information to local health departments regarding dementia awareness to promote risk reduction and emphasize the importance of early diagnosis. This bill is another step forward in our mission for improved care for Kentuckians suffering from Alzheimer's and dementia, and to make more resources available to healthcare leaders, caregivers, and support systems that depend on these folks. Depend on. My administration has worked to expand healthcare and services for those affected by these diseases. We relaunched Connect, worked to protect and expand Medicaid, and more. I fought for better dementia care through the Office of Dementia Services and prioritized support for the selfless caregivers across our Commonwealth through the Family Caregiver Program. These folks show unimaginable strength and compassion, and I want them to know that the Commonwealth of Kentucky appreciates and loves them. Alzheimer's and dementia affect far too many Kentuckians. So I'm pleased to see this legislation is working to spread research and awareness. And today, we are thankful to have the Alzheimer's Association with us, a group that works tirelessly on behalf of so many Kentuckians. Mackenzie Wallace, the Director of Public Policy for the Association, along with Rita Harrison, a Lexington resident impacted by this disease, have joined us today. Would you like to say a few words along with Representative Raymer? Congratulations.
Thank you, Governor Beshear. I'm happy to be here today to talk about House Bill 125, and it does exactly what he said. It requires literature about Alzheimer's to go to from the Department of Health to the health departments and other agencies. And while that may seem like a trivial step to some, as a registered nurse, I can tell you that education is one of our most effective tools that we have to compel individuals to change their lifestyle. And research shows that there are steps that can be taken to reduce the likelihood of developing Alzheimer's and other dementias, such as adopting a healthy lifestyle and managing other chronic conditions. And we know that Kentuckians are managing multiple chronic conditions at rates higher than other states. So I am so happy to be the sponsor of this bill. And I thank my colleagues in the House and the Senate for seeing the importance of it. And I thank Governor Beshear for signing this today. And I'll let Mackenzie say a few words.
Wow, thank you so much, Governor Beshear and Team Kentucky, for inviting us to be part of this special bill signing today. I also want to thank my advocate, Rita Harrison, and her husband, Joe. They are here today from Lexington, and Rita is only 63. You would never know it. She looks 25. And she is now in the early stages of Alzheimer's after being diagnosed with mild cognitive impairment in her mid-50s. As both Governor Beshear and Representative Raymer mentioned, House Bill 125 is a simple bill, but it's representative of a first step because this is the first piece of legislation that will address Alzheimer's and dementia through the mechanism of public health. Again, as they mentioned, it will require the Department for Public Health to collaborate with the Office of Dementia Services to integrate information on brain health and risk reduction into existing materials on the management of chronic conditions like heart disease, diabetes, and COPD. As Representative Raymer mentioned, many Kentuckians suffer from one or more chronic conditions, but even worse, so many of those Kentuckians are unaware that those chronic conditions can greatly increase their risk of developing cognitive decline. So with these updated materials that we will help the Office of Dementia Services and the Department for Public Health create, they will then be distributed to our local health departments, our area agencies on aging, and our senior centers. This bill embodies the spirit of Team Kentucky because it fosters interagency collaboration and it highlights the true bipartisan impact of this disease. This bill was championed by Representative Raymer, and then it had several co-sponsors from her colleagues across the aisle. At the association, we like to say that some of us are blue, some of us are red, but we're the strongest together when we make purple. So thank you all so much for inviting us here today and for supporting us in the fight against Alzheimer's.
All right. Anybody you want to invite up?
Yeah, Rita, come on up.
How are you? Welcome. Nice to meet you too.
Yes, come on.
Come on and join us. All right. Let's look up. Let's make a wall. Let me finish it. One more. So I can give you a pen, and I can give you one too. You're very welcome. Go right ahead. So, congratulations. You're very welcome. Jane, good to see you. Good to see you too. Thank you so much. All right, everybody else have one? We're good. Thank you. Thank you all. Come here, Wendy. There we go. All right, so that concludes our bill signings. Thank you to everybody who worked so hard on them. That's funny. I think Winnie is chasing someone out of the room whose pet she liked the most. Let's talk for a minute about weather that has recently come through. This week, we experienced more severe weather with dangerous straight line winds and a confirmed EF1 tornado in Louisville. Damage was seen from western Kentucky into the central area and northern Kentucky. Most reports included roof damage and damage to homes and buildings. One apartment complex in Louisville saw a structural collapse, resulting in one injury. Unfortunately, 50 people were displaced, but the city and teams are working to help each of those folks. Sadly, Louisville is also where we lost one individual to the storm. Certainly, we are praying for that individual and their family. Last Friday, we also saw serious storms and wind in western Kentucky. One community that was hit hard was Hopkinsville. I'm traveling there today, right after this press conference, to view the damage. But when you think about even just the pictures we've seen, it's a miracle that not one person was killed and no one was seriously injured. The mayor there, pretty incredible when I talked to him right after. He said everything that's been damaged can be fixed. All of our people are still here with us. This is another reminder that we have to be weather aware, and we have been. When you think about everything we've been through, especially since the flooding, and how few people we've lost, just remember to stay alert. And we've had a lot of them, and I get that, but don't get tired. Make sure you're protecting yourself and others. The steps that we've taken together as a community of Kentuckians, people being aware, the meteorologists getting out the word, have worked and have saved lives. Update on flooding in eastern Kentucky. To date, the Commonwealth Sheltering Program has 160 households in eastern Kentucky. That is down 19 that are in travel trailers. Again, that's a really good sign. See how many more households that have transitioned out than we have actual households currently in travel trailers. Those really suggest that people are finding more permanent housing. 150 trailers are occupied at 8 commercial locations with 10 on private sites. Since March the 23rd update, we were able to close the Clay County Government Campground site due to survivors finding more permanent shelter. We still have 4 people sheltering in 1 hotel and 16 in-state parks. FEMA's now approved more than $104.1 million in individual assistance. This is an increase of $897,000 from last week. Since April 4th, one additional applicant has received the maximum. 693 survivors have now received the maximum FEMA award. If you need help, visit one of our multi-agency resource centers. Now, we continue to see approvals come in for the property acquisition program. This is called the buyout program. Listen, I've been critical of FEMA when they've fallen short. This is an area where I believe they're doing better than they've ever done before. Normally, this program takes a year and a half or 2 years before the first purchases of properties from FEMA come in. This is FEMA purchasing your property if you're in the flood zone to try to provide you the dollars to move to higher ground. And because FEMA won't cover you a second time if you're in a flood zone and you've received individual assistance. This is the fastest payouts have come in the FEMA buyout program, I believe, in its history. As of March 27th, over $22 million in awards have been approved through the program, an increase of $5.1 million since our last update. The awards account for 126 properties in Perry County, City of Jackson, Breathitt County, Letcher County, and Knott County. Homeowners that want to learn more are encouraged to contact your county judge or your emergency management office. Let's see. Over $1.1 million of our Team Eastern Kentucky Flood Relief Fund has now been committed for home repairs outside of the higher ground communities. Those are finding plots where we can build 3, 4, 5 houses, along with the Foundation for Appalachian Kentucky, Housing Development Alliance, and Homes, Inc. All right, I want to give an update today on how we're doing in Kentucky on what's called the Affordable Connectivity Program. We are committed to providing high-speed internet to every part of Kentucky, but it also has to be affordable. And so the federal government launched the Affordability Connectivity Program, which means that certain folks, depending on their income or other programs they're signed up for, can qualify for up to $30 a month to help them pay their internet bill. That's up to $360 a year. Today, I'm proud to announce that Kentucky's been recognized as one of the top 5 states and territories in the country for getting eligible households signed up for the Affordable Connectivity Program. 39% of eligible Kentuckians have already signed up, and that is great progress. But what that means is 61% of families that qualify right now aren't taking advantage of a program that can save them $360 a year. The federal Affordable Connectivity Programs helps ensure households can afford the internet for work, for school, for health, and more. Eligible households can also receive a one-time discount of up to $100 to purchase a laptop, desktop computer, or tablet from participating providers if they contribute more than $10 and less than $50 towards the purchase price. So this is important. A household, and look at this, this is too small at the bottom, but it's really important what's down there. A household is eligible for the ACP program if the income is below 200% of the federal poverty guidelines, or if a member of the household receives any one of the criteria below. If you've received a Pell Grant during the current year, then you are eligible for this program. If you meet eligibility criteria for a participating provider's existing low-income internet program, or if you're on any one of these assistance programs, then there is $360 out there a year to help you afford internet. Free and reduced price school lunch or school breakfast program, SNAP, Medicaid, federal housing assistance, SSI, WIC, Veterans Pension or Survivor Benefits, or Lifeline. Information is on the screen right now to check to see if you are eligible. We want as many people to sign up for this, especially in times of inflation. All right, I want to extend a quick invite to everyone to celebrate Easter at the Capitol on Sunday, April 9th on the Capitol South Lawn, the outdoor space between the Capitol and the Capitol Annex. It is free and open to everyone. We're asking everyone to arrive around 2. Just like last year, we'll have family fun activities such as an Easter egg hunt, festive games, crafts, food trucks, and a special appearance by the Easter Bunny. Winnie and I got to meet so many of you last year. She even dressed up in an Easter Bunny costume. We'll see if she's willing to put it on again this year. So I hope you'll join us again for a really fun day for the whole family. You know, for many Kentuckians, Easter affirms peace and courage, knowing that our purpose is always greater than the challenges we face. Easter is a special time, a time of rebirth, a time that many of us view as the most important holiday for our faith, where we can recognize, sacrifice, and pledge to be the type of people that follow the example of our Savior. We're really looking forward to celebrating Easter with as many families as we can here in the Commonwealth. Easter's pretty important to me and my family. You know, my faith drives the decisions that I make. It's a part of who I am. It's how we're raising our children. And so this is a day on Sunday where those of my faith say he is risen. Other people respond, he is risen indeed. And I think every time we do that, it's a recommitment to living out the example of loving our neighbors as ourselves, of doing right, of looking out for the lost, the lonely, and the left behind, which we did today. Okay, a quick update on public health. COVID-19 activity remains stable, and all Kentucky counties have low COVID community levels, though a new map will come out tonight. Last week, the CDC released data about the monkeypox vaccination rates state by state. Kentucky's estimated population at risk is 19,344. 21% of that group has received one dose of the monkeypox vaccine, and 12% have received 2 doses. Nationally, those numbers are about 36.7% and 22.7%. We have these doses available for those who are interested. Also, this week, April 3rd to 9th, is National Public Health Week. That's a week we ought to remember to thank our public health heroes, the courage that they show every day is impressive, but what they did through this pandemic was truly living out their calling. So thank you to all of our national public health workers. And finally, our Team Kentucky All-Stars, the Transylvania women's basketball team, which made history last weekend, securing the national title in the NCAA Division III championship game in Dallas. They were undefeated the entire season. Their win over Christopher Newport University capped off an incredible season. This incredible team secured the first national title in Transylvania's history as a school. So it gives me a lot of pride to name the Transylvania women's basketball team as this week's Team Kentucky All-Stars. Congratulations to the Pioneers, their coaches, and all the fans out there celebrating this incredible season. All right, we've got, I think, 4 journalists in the room, 2 on the line. We'll start with Tom Latek.
Thank you, Governor. You were talking about heading to Christian County to survey the damage. Is there any state aid currently being offered to them, and also in Jefferson County where they've had as many as 3 tornadoes there in Beach County?
So we're headed to Christian County today to survey the damage. We have state government groups through emergency management offering aid as needed through programs that we have and that exist that can provide aid. Now we're going through the process with these last 2 storms, both of which hit Jefferson County, to determine the level of damage we have statewide. To secure a federal disaster declaration, it has to reach a certain threshold, and that's when we have some other aid that kicks in. I would expect for those storms that we at best will qualify for public assistance, which helps us in some of the infrastructure and other repairs that need to be made. I don't currently see enough damage to believe that we would receive public assistance in those. Jefferson County, I know, has been working really hard with those that were housed in that apartment building collapse. Amazing that they all made it out. I know we have 1 current injury there. We are working with Jefferson County, but their emergency management has taken the lead and is doing a very good job. Carolina.
Governor, what are your overall thoughts of this past legislative session? Do you believe the state is better or worse off?
This last legislative session, and we saw some bills that are highly concerning, that rip the freedom away for parents to make important and difficult medical decisions for their kids, and further marginalize kids out there that are already hurting. On the other end, we saw things passed that people have been pushing for a long time. We saw medical marijuana passed into law. We saw sports betting passed into law. In many ways, I think we saw the best of bipartisanship, people coming together, requiring Democrats and Republicans, people from all over the state passing those last 2 bills. But I hope in the future that we can focus less on passing laws that hurt certain Kentuckians and focus more on what we can do together to build everybody up. And my belief is that our job isn't to move a state to the right or the left, but to move it forward. And just jumping on the bandwagon with things that are going reasons or political gain does not help our people. Now, I think we have more in common as Kentuckians than we do with members of the same political party in other places across the country. And we're sitting at this incredibly important moment where we are transforming our economy, being something, moving towards something that we always dreamed of. I just hope that we can ensure that everybody has those opportunities, that everybody is included. And since it's Good Friday, that we live out our faith. It says every child's a child of God, every single one. And everybody out there is our neighbor. So I hope coming into next session, we can do better. We see less of the division and more of what we saw at the very end of the session. Anna?
Thank you, Governor. Kind of piggybacking off of the weather story, it seems that recently we've had a lot more unusual, more tornado alley-esque activity moving further and further east into Kentucky. Now, has emergency management kind of looked at the system and thinking that they're going to reevaluate public safety guidelines during tornado season or even outside of it,
Yeah.
since it has kind of become more of a repeat issue, and especially, Jefferson County, not really someplace where we're used to seeing this.
Yeah, we are seeing more severe weather in this last 2.5 year period than many of us can remember. It's so recent; it's hard to draw conclusions about whether or not that this is going to be our new normal or not. But what I can say is we've already learned some really important lessons in it. What we've learned is if we communicate, and that's the media, that's government, that's everyone, well in advance of these weather systems that move through, if people recognize how serious they are, that we can take small steps without altering our lives in significant ways to make sure that we all get through it. And that's that from time to time. Businesses let off a little early. That's how we protect our people and their employees. It's ensuring that everybody has a weather radio and a plan and takes it seriously. What I've seen, especially since the tornadoes in Western Kentucky, is that a new level of awareness, not just across those that want to get the message out, but amongst Kentuckians as well. And the thing that I take heart in is how many people check on other people right now before those come. It does need to become, though, a part of every business model about what you do with inclement weather. It needs to become a part of every nursing home, every area that takes care of people, how we deal with this. And in an age where we have all these tools, dealing with it with as little disruption as possible. If it means we need to cancel doctor's appointments at a hospital because we don't want people out on the road, how can we reschedule those as quickly as we can? That, at least, I think, is part of a new normal, not necessarily because we think we will continue to see as many, but because we want to protect people better during them. Steve.
Thank you, Governor. Question on sports betting. I've been told that the KHRC is looking to expedite the process and getting regulations and licenses up. Is that something you're encouraging? And if
yes.
so, what resources does the commission have, or what resources do they need to do that?
So the question is on sports betting, and yes, this administration is for expediting the process, but getting it right. We get that for a long time, folks around Kentucky, including myself, have wanted sports betting to become a reality. And the timing on when people can place their first bet depends on two things. First, the Attorney General will tell us the date, the first date that laws passed that didn't have an emergency clause take effect. But this one will require that and getting the regulations set and ultimately the system up. I was just talking today with our core team, which we're going to expand out, about how we want to move as quickly as possible. That's looking at best practices from other states. I was just in touch with New Jersey's governor, and they're going to offer some technical assistance. Ohio did this really recently. Let's pull theirs. I mean, we're not the first person to build this wheel. And what we want to do is look at all the various regulations, especially those that are closest to the system that was passed into law here in Kentucky. We can also look at their results. 1 year to 10 or even 20. We've got to get it right, but we understand, especially as NFL season is going to loom in this next year. The people are really excited about this, so we want to get it up and going as quickly as we can, but also to do it right. I can't tell you I have a date. I would really like to have it ahead of that first NFL game, knowing that that is a big starting date for people. But we'll give updates. If we are going to hit or not hit that date, I'll certainly be communicating about it. And again, we want to get it right, but we want to get it done as quickly as possible. We have Karen Czar on the line.
Good afternoon, Governor. Thank you.
I think we have Karen.
My legislative and weather questions have already been asked, so I want to go in a little more personal. Can you hear me now?
Okay.
Hello? Can you hear me?
So right now we can't hear Karen in here, though I do think we have contact. Can you relay her question?
Okay, my legislative and weather questions have been asked. I'm going to go on a personal note. the governor touched on his faith already, but this is the first Holy Week and Passover in which we did not have to have any COVID recommendations. How does it feel going into, as he said, the most special time for Christians and for the Jewish community to celebrate where there are no restrictions?
That's amazing. It is incredible to be able to gather together. I'll be at Beargrass along with our church family this Sunday. A chance for us to worship together, a chance for families to get together on that really special day and know we're safe. This is the lowest level of COVID for an Easter we've had since the very first case in Kentucky. It shows how far we've come. To me, it also shows that God is good, even when it's tough. When we started this pandemic, the approximation of how many people we'd lose was so much higher than how many we've lost. The estimates of how many years it would take to get a vaccine. I give a lot of credit to science for helping us get where we are today, but I give all credit to God. I believe how well our hospitals did. I believe how we were able to get those testing locations set up, the largest testing network made from scratch I think the country has ever seen. How quick and how effective the vaccines are, those are all gifts from God. And we get to get together this Easter and give him thanks for so many of us still being here together. You know, for me personally, we'll have 3 less people at our Easter table this year than we did 3 years ago. 2 family members, 1 very close family friend taken from other diseases. But while we miss them, it reminds us how special Easter and other times that we get together are, and knowing how safe it's going to be for everybody sitting at that table this year is pretty special. So to everybody out there, happy Easter. Pretty incredible. 3 years into a global pandemic that lasted much longer in the past, took more lives by percentage, to be able to be here all together again. Joe Sonka, Courier Journal, with our last question.
Thank you, Governor. I have a question for you about 2 bills. First, you signed House Bill 5 last week on the bourbon barrel tax, which was opposed by some local government officials in those counties. Wondering if you can explain why you decided to sign that bill. Also, House Bill 135 is one of the few remaining pending bills that you have that establishes a regulatory framework for autonomous vehicles. Wondering if you could give me your thought process on whether to sign or veto that bill.
Well, I expect to take action Monday or Tuesday, which is the last day on the autonomous vehicle bill. We'll provide our reasoning for any action we take at that time. The bourbon barrel tax bill had major changes at the end. And admittedly, it's tough on a lot of those counties. They did not see the committee substitute that came at the last moment that it did a lot. First, it said that whether it is school districts or EMS and fire or some of the other special districts, that the industry would ensure that the amount of revenue they receive in taxes that support them does not dip below the current level. And as opposed to the initial bill that would have the general fund make that up, the industry itself is making it up. Now, it may impact some future growth, but I thought it was a very significant step. And I thought that it was one of the best shapes we could get that bill in a session that took 60 votes, and that what we might get in a session where it would only take 50 could impact those counties even more. And I know it was tough. You had an industry that supports so many jobs and calls Kentucky home. At the same time, you have communities that have helped build that industry that I know there are right now probably some difficult feelings. With the industry basically holding those communities harmless about where that revenue is right now, I decided to move forward to sign that bill to encourage more investment, but knowing that our counties would not be worse off at least tomorrow or the next day than they currently are. Okay, this was a long one today. Thank you all for hanging with us. We'll be back next Thursday at our regular time. Thanks to Winnie for being a good trooper here today. Thank you to all the advocates that are with us. Thank you for all these companies investing hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars. Everybody, happy Easter.